Welcome back to the podcast. My returning guest today is Mr. Joe Perez, the owner of Texas Chronicles. In this episode, Joe will come on and tell us about a recent health scare, how it's changed him, and what's the future for Texas Chronicles and his media production business.
Joe, good to have you back on the podcast. How you been doing, man?
I've been good. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to talk to you again. So
okay. You know, like a lot of people on Facebook, we keep up with each other, our business pages and personal pages, and I do that with you quite a bit. And I noticed it's been some time ago now that you kind of took a little turn with your health. You want to recapitulate some of that for us?
Yeah. So, in September, I had the worst headache ever. I got home and, I have allergies and things like that. So my head was really, really pounding. So that night I had gone to sleep and I just couldn't sleep because my head hurt so bad. And I told my wife, which, I told her, it's like my head really hurts and it doesn't feel the way my usual headaches are. So that night I went to sleep and I texted my wife because I had gone to sleep in my son's room because I couldn't sleep and I didn't want to wake them up. And I'm not one of those people that are take me to the hospital. But that night I was like, take me to the hospital.
So you knew it was bad.
So I knew it was bad because I'm just not like that.
Right.
So on the way to the hospital, I was throwing up, blacking out. By the time we got there, the only thing that I remember is getting into the wheelchair, and that's it. And I woke up a week later from a coma. And what happened was that I had a brain leak in the part of the piece of plate that holds your brain, it separates your brain and your face. I had a leak there. And what happened is I contracted meningococcal pneumonia. Not pneumonia.
Meningitis?
Meningitis.
Okay.
And it had traveled up my throat, in through my nasal cavity, into my brain. So I had this brain infection. And I spent 59 days in the hospital, and I was really, really, very close to not making it. And, in that time, whenever you're laying on your back and you're not immobile, you're immobile. I mean, I had to learn how to walk again. All those things that, I lost the ability to use my fine motor skills. I couldn't even feed myself. So the meningitis really, really took it out of me. And while I was in the hospital, I had kidney disease previous to this. And what happened was the medicine that they used to save my life destroyed my kidneys. So I woke up with this port in my chest, and they had started me at dialysis when I was in a coma. And now, I'm on dialysis, but, thank God that my mom, she decided to be my living donor.
Okay.
So hopefully by May, I'll be able to get a new kidney.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like you remember a lot of what happened, at least I guess maybe the first month or so, you don't really remember a whole lot of what happened? Or when did you start sort of realizing, here's where I'm at, here's what's going on, I'm not in a good place?
The scary part of it was when I knew something was really wrong is when I had woken up from a coma and I was hungry and my wife gave me a cup of fruit. And I remember reaching up for the cup of fruit and I couldn't hold it and I couldn't dip the spoon in the cup of fruit and feed myself. And I knew something was really, really wrong because I had no fine motor skills. And that's when when you wake up from a coma, you miss, I missed a week. So all these things that had happened in the week, she was telling me this what's going on. This is what happened. This is why you were sick. And then while I'm listening to her, I'm trying to feed myself and I couldn't. And I knew something was very, very wrong. And then learning about all the things that had happened with the pneumonia, the meningitis, that's when it really got real.
Looking back during that time, I remember there was some posts that I believe your wife was making on behalf of you. They were trying to figure out what was going on with you. How long did it take them to figure out what exactly was happening?
Actually, when I had gone into the hospital, my wife told me that when they admitted me, they were treating me for something that I didn't have. So whenever they had the shift change doctor was a infectious disease doctor, and he's like, no, you're treating him for the wrong thing. You need to go ahead and do a spinal tap on him to see if he's got meningitis, because he is exhibiting some of the things that people with meningitis are doing. You know, I was being very combative with the nurses. I didn't know who I was. I couldn't speak. I was having labored breathing. So, and they treated me for that. So they knew almost right away what had happened. But after they started treating me for the meningitis, they found out that I had pneumonia. I started having, I had fluid on my lungs from the actual, from the brain leak that I was having. So it was actually leaking, going into my lungs, causing me to have a hard time breathing.
Okay.
So all these things accumulated, and it really, it took some time for everything to heal.
Were you close to death at any point in time?
I was. I think the doctor said I was about an hour away from not making it.
Wow.
And thank God, I thank God for second chances, because, I laying in bed and in the hospital, I think about my wife and my kids and them growing up not having a dad. That really hits home, but I'm so thankful for second chances, and I really, I'm really grateful for that.
You talked about thanking God for second chances. I know you're a man of faith, we're both men of faith. How did your faith play into this? How did it help you and not just you, but your family, to help you get through this?
Well, I always put my faith on his shoulders. So when things look bad, which they did look very, very bad, and they looked like things were never going to get better, especially when you can't walk, you can't move, and you're having trouble breathing. At that moment, there is no life. There's no looking into the future, but with prayer and believing in him, knowing that he could save me, knowing that he could heal me, I knew that it was time. And that's what I asked for, is just a little bit more time, and then having the hope that he would give me and my family a second chance for me to get better. And I saw myself getting better. And there has to be a determination when you're sick. There has to be. You have to visualize yourself getting better, being there for your family, and that's all I wanted to do was that. So when you're laying in bed, having that determination of getting better, and leaning to him for hope. And because a lot of times when you're in the hospital, you are there by yourself. From 8 o'clock to 6 in the morning, you're there by yourself, and there's no one else to look forward to look to talk to be with, but for the Lord.
You mentioned something about that will to keep going, and you read I've read a lot of research before, and doctors will tell you when a patient loses their will, it doesn't matter what we do, they're just going to go downhill. If they have a reason to keep going, sometimes it surpasses whatever medicine could do for you. Like, there's just that energy that keeps you going. When did you know that you're going to start rounding that bend? When did you really start feeling like, okay, I feel like there's a good end in sight here?
When I was able to get up and take a shower.
Oh.
So, I thought, well, if I can get from my bed to the bathroom and take a shower, that could be the first goal that I'm going to cross off.
Right.
So making those goals for myself and then accomplishing those goals. Well, what's the next goal? The next goal is getting up and being able to walk from my bed to the door, maybe with a walker, or getting in the wheelchair and kind of wheeling myself. Because the thing is when you're in bed for, 40 plus days, every movement, every time you get up, every time you sit up, it's exhausting, and, brushing your teeth is exhausting, all those things. But giving yourself a goal to do something and then marking that off, It's an accomplishment. And then keep on going, walking outside the hospital room and things like that. And the nurses and the doctors also gave me a lot of hope, and they were pushing me to do better. I see that you're not wanting to just lay here and be sick. I see that you want to improve. I'm going to push you to do it.
Okay. And so how hard was it, Joe, for you to, you work, you do media work, you have your really successful channel, Texas Chronicles. Obviously your health is what you're thinking about more than anything else, but I'm sure in the back of your mind you're thinking, man, I'm missing out. I really wish I could be doing this as opposed to laying here in this hospital bed.
You know what? I thought about that so many times, and life is passing me by, but you know what? Part of being a faithful man is like it's going to be there. And if the Lord wants me to continue to doing what I'm doing with my channel or with media, if he doesn't want me to do it, he's not going to allow me to do it. He's just going to close that door for me and open up another one. But it hasn't closed, and it's giving me more of a motivation to go out and do those things, tell those stories. And now what I want to do is let people know about kidney disease, and to never give up if you are, diagnosed with kidney disease or if you're in dialysis, because that is not a death sentence. It's not the end of your life. You still, if you are in dialysis, no matter how old you are, there's still life in you, and you could go through dialysis and you could still have a normal life.
So many times people will go through challenging situations like this, whether it's financial or health or otherwise. And a lot of people will come out on the other side and think, because I went through this, now I'm focused on this thing. I never even thought about it, or I took this for granted. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, it has. Every song that I listen to now, every holiday that I've had since getting out of the hospital, starting from Christmas, is a lot sweeter. When my parents talk to me now, I listen. It's not like I didn't listen,
right? But
I don't take me seeing my kids going out and playing with them, I don't take that for granted anymore, because, in the past, maybe when my kids were outside, I'd be on my phone, kind of doing whatever. Now it's not quite like that. It's because, God gave me a second chance, and now those moments in my life, I take them. They mean just so much more to me, and little things like taking a shower and not having 3 nurses helping you, being able to walk, being able to do those things. I don't take those for granted anymore, because,
Yeah. Definitely helps put your life back in perspective. When you got out, what was the first thing you did when you were finally released from the hospital? And I'm assuming you probably have to go back from time to time for checkups or stuff like that. But when you first got out and they said, okay, Joe, you're in the clear, you're just going to have to rehab now, what was the first thing you did? Did you go get something good to eat? What'd you do?
I just wanted to sit on my couch. And when I first came home, I couldn't go upstairs because I still couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair. So being immobile like that, but being able to get out of the wheelchair and sit on my couch, that's one of the things that I dreamed about in the hospital, just to be home and be around my family. And, and those are the things, but slowly I was able to kind of get back into the normal things. But me wanting to get better didn't just stay in the hospital. It also came home with me. So walking from the couch to the middle of the room, I would take our chairs and line them all over the house, so I could walk 5 steps, sit down, get up, because it would I would be winded, get up, walk 5 steps, sit down, walk another 5 steps, sit down, and then, moving those chairs a little bit further. And then, I remember the day that I was able to go upstairs. I bawled my eyes out, because, that's one of the things that I had thought about. But it's those small little things that really, I had thought about, when I was in the hospital, just little things like that. Being able to brush my teeth in front of the bathroom and not have to have the nurses help me with things like that. It just makes life a little bit more sweeter when you can do those things.
Right. You get your independence and stuff back. What's life like now? What's day to day for Joe? I know you're back to work, you're back shooting stuff again.
Yeah, every day. So now it's a little bit different. I'm almost 100%. Well, I mean, I'm 100% in what I'm doing now. I get up, everything's normal. I don't have trouble moving around. I don't have trouble doing things like that. But like I said, I go to dialysis Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And even though those are 3 hours out of my day that I'm missing with my family, or I'm missing doing something, I thank God every day that I'm in dialysis, because these people are helping me keep me alive. And, God's allowing this to be in my life, or me doing this, but, I'm using it I'm using it to not only think about the things that I'm going to do later on, but just kind of contemplating life. I'm sitting there for 3 hours. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and you can think about think about the things that are going on in your life, and think about all the reasons why I need to be grateful.
And what's that experience like? Because I think people hear that about going to dialysis and they think, oh, that'd be the last thing I'd ever want to do. What's it like for you?
It's actually pretty amazing. They take all your blood and they cycle it through this machine, because when you're going through dialysis, your kidneys don't work.
Right.
And what your kidneys do is they filter out all the toxins, all the things that you intake, and also too, it filters out because a lot of people who are in dialysis can't urinate.
Oh.
So what it's doing, it's kind of taking all that stuff out, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's basically just cleaning your blood and putting it back in. And when you're done, you feel, I will say that the tiredness that you feel when you're off of dialysis, when you come off, is a tiredness you will never experience in your life. It's the worst. But it gets better after a couple of hours, but it's there to save your life.
Right. Okay. So has that been a hard adjustment for you?
You know what? It hasn't been. It hasn't been, because I know that it's something that I need, but it's actually something that I've worked into my life, because it's like it helps me kind of coordinate my week. It helps me coordinate what I'm going to do at work. It helps me think about the things that I need to do at home, the things that I need to do with my family. So it's 3 hours of basically just thinking about the future, thinking about the now, thinking about what I have to do, answering emails. It's actually, a lot of people might think it's a bummer being there for 3 hours. But it's really the mindset that you have, because if you go into stuff like that, or whether it's physical therapy or whether it's dialysis, you have to go in with a really strong mindset, because if you don't, it's not going to work. Yeah. It's not going to work. You're going to be, you're going to be miserable.
Talk about that for a minute. That will to ingest and have a different perspective on things that you might not otherwise want to do. Like you said, like we were talking about earlier. A lot of people would think, man, I'd rather be spending time going fishing than sitting in dialysis or something like that. But like you said, you have to do it. Maybe there's someone that's watching this that maybe is going through a health scare, or all of a sudden their health just changed and they went from healthy to, now I've got this thing to deal with. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. What do I do? Any advice for them as far as kind of weathering those storms in life?
Well, number one for me, it's my faith. So if it wasn't for the Lord, me putting my faith into Him, Him giving me hope about just wanting to be alive. He gave me hope and wanting to get better. And, that's the hope that He gives me, and that's the hope that's promised to us. But the other thing is having a good mindset about things. Yes, you can get bad news and you could be going through the worst part of things in your life, but having a good mindset about things, knowing that things can get better, and if they don't, if you have a terminal illness, then people of faith, I know that if I were to pass away, that I'd be in good hands. Because I know that there is life after this
right.
After this time. But it's also about having a good mindset. It just helps so much, because in the hospital I got so many bad news, so many when the doctors would come in and give me bad news, I never gave up hope. And I believe that's one of the things also too that made me be where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm. So you said your mother's going to be a donor. So what's that process, and how long is it going to be before you get a kidney?
So in April, I'm going to do the whole gamut of tests and blood tests and everything, and then they've already the panel of doctors have already said, you're a good candidate for the kidney disease. I mean for the kidney. And so I go in April, do the whole gamut of blood tests and things like that. And then my mom goes in and she does the whole blood workup and everything. And then once we both get approved, we set a date for the kidney.
Okay.
But so since my mom is, I believe she's an O, okay. I believe that O blood types can give kidneys to anybody.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
I don't know. Somebody will correct me, but I think that's the
yeah.
But
it's universal, I think.
Yeah, and then it all kind of varies, but I think with the tests and everything, we'll have a complete solid. She is definitely my match for a kidney.
Okay, well that's good, and it's hopefully you don't have to go too much longer past that time where you have to stay on dialysis. Hopefully, now when they're done with that, do they have to? Because I know you have different ports and stuff like that. Do they take all that out when you're done?
So I just got this fistula in my arm to replace this, because when you are new to dialysis and you have a port here, this tends to get infected really easy. Okay. So they want you to have this port, the fistula. Mm-hmm. But once this starts working, they take this out, and this stays in here forever.
Oh, it doesn't come back.
No, because what they do is they graft they graft this piece of, I forgot what it's called, but they graft it to your artery.
Oh, okay.
And they, and then this is where they do the dialysis. But it's going to be there forever.
It'll be a permanent reminder of the challenges that you overcame.
That's right. So it's kind of gnarly, but it's definitely a reminder of where I'm at now and where I've been.
Okay. Well, speaking of where you're at now, talk about the getting back into filming and keeping up with Texas Chronicles and filming episodes and stuff like that. Are you back 100% with that, or are you kind of working your way back in?
I'm actually 100% with that. It's juggling the time with my family, juggling the time at work, and then juggling the time with the show. So I'm starting to get back full into the episodes and things like that. When you're laying, there's a lot of time that goes by. So it's good to start thinking about projects that that stuff that I wanted to do, people that I wanted to interview, places that I wanted to go, and it's all starting to kind of come together.
So have you had any new ideas of maybe expanding things, or are you going to keep doing what you were doing? Or
you know what, I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing, but I definitely do want to expand a little bit more. I think I'm going to start pushing for a channel on a streaming platform. I think we're going to start doing that. We're going to start. I think me and my wife we've already shot our first episode of our Texas Chronicles Kidney Talk.
Okay.
To kind of let people know about kidney disease and dialysis. One of the things that we want to work on is that my older one started a show when he was little, and we had called it Texas Chronicles Kids Edition. So now my younger one wants to do the same thing, and we want to go to different places that are kid friendly, whether it's restaurants, tourist places, things like that. So I think we're going to start before spring break and do a show and talk about fun kid things to do during spring break. And I also want to start writing more.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one of the things that I've always liked to do, and so I want to start writing more stories about. I like Texas tall tales, maybe some haunted locations in Texas, and maybe more history of different moments in Texas history, and even kind of things that we remember growing up, right, being Texans or Houstonians. So just write a little bit more about that. But I want to start getting back into writing.
Well, very good. Well, it sounds like everything's coming back around for you, and I'm glad to hear that. And
Well, praise God that He gave me a second chance, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
very good. Well, Joe, I wish you all the best with not just your health, but the channel, all of your media projects, and all the rest of it. I can't wait to hear what comes next for you.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on, and I'm glad to see you again.
Okay.